Hey everybody, welcome back to Kicking in the Second Half, KISH YZ. We're here to talk about the other second round of the 2021 NBA playoffs Eastern Conference matchup. This is the Eastern Conference semifinals, and this is going to be between the number 5 Atlanta Hawks versus the number 1 seed Philadelphia 76ers. And just the first thing I would like to point out, in my opinion, should be a 3-point shootout as far as it's going to be a great series between certain players, high caliber percentage wise players. This should be a superb series of three pointers made just in general, as far as, good shots taken, great shots made. When we're looking at the Atlanta Hawks, we're talking obviously Trae Young, who has almost unlimited range, just to throw that out there. Bogdanovich as well. He is just great, closer towards the arc in my opinion, but he's just great as far as his percentage. And if he gets an open look, he's definitely going to pull those, and he makes it at a high clip. So I like his shooting as well. And then I want to go ahead and throw Herter. He has some streaky games where he just gets on fire from the 3-point line, but the Hawks as a whole, they shoot a lot of threes in my opinion. Maybe they should be higher up as far as than probably where they're at. I know they're not number 1 as far as 3-pointers made. I think that was the Clippers this year, if I recall correctly. And looking at the Philadelphia 76ers, we have obviously Curry, not Steph Curry, but Seth Curry, and usually leads the league or in the top 3 of the league every year for the last several years as far as 3-point percentage. I think Joe Harris might have had the highest percentage this year. I can't remember who exactly, but Curry's somewhere up there. We're Danny Green as well. Danny Green's another player for the Philadelphia 76ers who puts in 3-pointers at a high clip. And, we look to see him play heavy minutes in the playoffs because he's just that veteran player that he's got 3 championships under his belt. So he's experienced when it comes to big game and, performing at a high level on a tough stage like this. So should definitely see him take a good amount of threes. And then, I guess that's all I have for that. Sorry, I thought I had another name, but that was just Danny Green spelled all the way out. But yeah, there's going to be other players that definitely would contribute to the threes. Don't get me wrong, but these are just key shooters that I see from both sides that, they're not afraid to shoot. And, I could see a run where, Philly's shooting some threes and Atlanta's going to try to respond or vice versa. So I definitely look for a lot of 3-pointers to be taken and made in this series. Obviously some of that depends on how heavy the defense is, but with each team having multiple shooters usually on the floor at the same time, it's going to spread the floor and somebody's going to be open. So there's going to be shots still taken from beyond the arc. And yeah, that's one of the keys that, that's important for me in this series is just who's going to be making those 3-point shots, because, sometimes if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. So we'll keep an eye on that. But one of the factors I also want to keep an eye on, if we're looking at the Atlanta Hawks with the player development here. I want to keep an eye on DeAndre Hunter. I think he might be questionable for game 1, but for him, this is, something that he could build his basketball game on as far as going into, the rest of his career. This is a big stage heading to the second round. I think this is his second season in the league. And, the role that he has with the Atlanta Hawks is kind of like, could be like a third string, not third string, I don't want to say a third option type of role, depending on who they're rolling with. But I could see him later on in the future possibly developing into that second option role as far as scoring. But, obviously health is a concern here, but I do like the opportunity that he gets here to, expand his game and contribute to the Hawks. Hopefully he gets to play at least sometime during the series. If he's just questionable, I would assume he'd be in the series at some point within the first 4 games at least. And just looking at him, he's a player that came out of UVA on that championship team back in 2019, I believe. So yeah, he might be, not too familiar with the NBA playoffs, but as far as the experience on the big stage, I think he could fill a vital role here if he gets out there and gets some health things situated, then he can contribute in a big way. But just for his personal development, that's just what I'm mentioning here. And then, on the other side, we're looking at the Philadelphia 76ers. I want to mention Shake Milton because I think at some point in the playoffs, assuming that Philly makes it past this round, or even in this round, I would say Shake Milton would have to have some big moments here and there. So he's a player I like to keep an eye out on. But more so Tyrese Maxey, the rookie point guard, backup point guard for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think this is going to help his development as well. Like I said, he is a rookie, but at the same time, if you're looking down the road, let's say for some reason the Philadelphia 76ers decide that this Ben Embiid combo is not working, and that would mainly probably be due to health concerns. So if they don't get as far as they need to in the next couple years, then this is a player in Tyrese Maxey that they could use to develop him within these couple years and use him as a potential starter. And while they look for to trade other pieces away, if they need to retool, I don't want to say a complete rebuild. It's hard to see from now, but if they need to retool, then they might be able to rely on Tyrese Maxey. He's had some big moments in the regular season this year, and the playoffs are just going to add to him building his career as well and his play style. So I'm interested to see him again in this series to see how he performs. Like I say, he's basically going to be coming off the bench, but again, he plays a role on the team that they're definitely going to need to use him, especially if somebody like Ben Simmons gets in foul trouble, or they need to use Ben Simmons at the 4, which that could be very valuable to the Philadelphia 76ers. So I do look for him to get some run time in there. But let's get into the factors. So those were some things I wanted to keep an eye out on as far as developmental things with some of these younger players there. But the biggest factor, obviously, in this season series, sorry if you've been keeping up with this, is Joel Embiid. His health. He has missed the last couple games to end the last series when the Philadelphia 76ers took down the Wizards in 5 games. And he is questionable to play in the first game, I believe. And if I don't know if he's going to be able to play at all in this series. It just depends. I think the report says he has a meniscus tear in his right knee, so that's something that it's not super serious. It's not an ACL tear, but I mean, at the same time, you don't want it to be that. So it's something they're definitely going to have to monitor. I don't even know if they'll even have him out and shoot around. It's probably a little bit more serious than just waiting, for a game time decision, in my opinion. Especially once you just saw what happened with Anthony Davis, where he was out, missed a game or two there, and then came back for the Lakers loss against the Phoenix Suns in Game 6, and he didn't last very long. So that was a different injury there, but it's just the fact that you're trying to recover during the playoffs where you don't get that much time off and every game does matter, and you got to look forward to your future as well. So you don't want to do something now that's going to cause you to miss your opportunity again next season. So this is just an ongoing thing with Embiid, with his health, especially his lower body, with his knees. So like I said, he may not play in this series, but if he does, it might not be every game. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, if for some reason he's healthy to play the whole series, and that's going to completely change the series. But without him, it's changing the series as well. So that's just the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing you have to watch out for as far as the key to how this series is going to swing. But so outside of that, let me go ahead and get into the X factors. The X factor that I have for Philadelphia is going to be Dwight Howard, just because, like I mentioned about Joel Embiid's health, if he's going to be missing games or on minutes limitation, then we're going to need for Dwight Howard to step up and keep playing a big role. He had a couple good games in the first round against the Wizards, but in this one, we're particularly looking at his rebounding offensively and defensively. They're going to need him to be that anchor man. Once again, this is a guy similar to Danny Green, but he's only got 1 championship, and he won that with Danny Green last year with the Los Angeles Lakers. So he does have the experience on a big stage here, but we're going to need him to, like I said, pick up the slack on the rebounding and be aggressive, be somewhat of a heart on the team, on the floor, to help, keep a good balance as far as the flow of the game and bring that energy. But don't want to see him foul out, that's for sure. But he's going to definitely have some big shoes to fill once again. And you're going up against Clint Capella when you're comparing center against center for either team. And he's definitely got to put in some work here. And I think it's going to be interesting when he does play in Atlanta. The first 2 games are going to be in Philadelphia, but Dwight is from the Atlanta area. He did play for the Hawks for a season or a season and a half. I can't remember exactly, but so I don't think he'll shy away from this stage, obviously. But I just look at him as the biggest X factor in my opinion. And then moving on to Atlanta, an X factor for them, in my opinion, is going to be another big guy, and it's not Capella. It's going to be John Collins. Um, I'm looking at John Collins from a scoring perspective because I feel like, he is a great 3-point shooter in my opinion. He just doesn't take a lot. And I know sometimes he gets fed in the pecking order as a third or sometimes a fourth option. But I think if they feed him as a third to second option, depending on how much Bogdanovich is covered, then he could definitely be the difference for Atlanta in this series because I think Capella, he's going to be battling rebounds with Dwight, like I already mentioned, or Embiid if Embiid's playing. But John Collins is that one guy that kind of stands out for me that Philly might have a hard time trying to match up with. I could see them maybe, trying to put Ben Simmons on him if they need to do that. And if that were the case, then he could draw some focus off of Trae Young, which would just increase, Trae Young's scoring ability there. So he could contribute without even having the ball in his hands. But he definitely does need to look for a shot, and they need to feed him the ball. And I think he could be an X factor in that he could, he can easily average about, in my opinion, he should average about 18 to 20 in this series. I don't know if he will, but I like to see him do that and contribute in that fashion, just primarily on scoring. You got Capella there for the interior defense and rebounding, but I mean, obviously he can't slack on defense, but he's got to guard his man, whoever that may be. But I want him to have a good scoring contribution in this series. Like he should be second to third leading scorer in the team, in my opinion, behind Trae Young and or Bogdanovich. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So those are my two X factors: Dwight Howard and John Collins for this series. And then just to wrap this up, the prediction for this series, in my opinion, Philly was my pick in the regular season. We go back months ago, even when we started doing the podcast, I picked Philadelphia 76ers as the team to make it out the East. And yes, I know Brooklyn Nets play in the East, and yeah, I had Philly getting out before them, obviously. And but now it's kind of shaky. I should have saw this coming. I had greater hope because of Embiid getting hurt last season and during the bubble, and then all that time he had to off the court this season. I figured that he'd be a little bit more healthier, and the chances of him getting injured would be a little bit less likely to happen. But just because it's less likely doesn't mean it still won't happen, because it did happen. And unfortunately, yeah, that just changes my whole outlook. So realistically, I wanted to go, with the Sixers, I would say in 6 games, if Joel Embiid were to play, because I don't think he's going to be full health. So he might be either on minutes limitation or just won't play every game. So if he's able to play and contribute when he is able to play, as far as at least getting 28 minutes or so, I would say that the Philadelphia 76ers can take this series in 6. But I want to shout out to Jalen, because Jalen was talking to me from work, and he said he could see the Atlanta Hawks making it to the Eastern Conference Finals in this scenario. I think he said the Hawks in 5. So I would roll with that. But if they don't have Embiid, then I would say Hawks in 6, in my opinion, because I'm going to give an extra win to the Philadelphia 76ers because they do have Doc Rivers, and I believe he's one of the best coaches in the league. And it's unfortunate what happened to them and him and the Clippers last season with the bubble. But I like the way he's leading the Philadelphia 76ers. But yeah, without your best guy, your main guy there, and Joel Embiid, it's going to be tough to beat up on these Hawks teams when the Hawks are just has that young energy and they're ready to go out there following this momentum on coming off the series against the Knicks. And plus Trae Young, I think he's feeling himself a bit, and he has a right to, as far as the performance that he had against the Knicks at the whole series. So now, you put yourself in that spotlight, and you're ready for the big stage. So going through the Knicks and playing at MSG, now moving on to the Philadelphia 76ers, he's going to be up for the challenge. He's going to be up for the boos against the Philly fans. So the best medicine might not be to boo this man, but it's going to happen, and he's going to try to put on a great performance. And unless Ben Simmons is really sticking it to him, I mean, he should have a great series again. But I mean, I feel like Ben Simmons could kind of smother him out, but he's good at drawing fouls. So, and they're going to need Ben if they don't have Embiid. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Trae Young's going to have a consistent series again there. So Yeah, the Hawks could definitely win this series. So I'm kind of a toss up. Like I'm not very definitive here because of, like I said, it depends on Embiid's health, in my opinion. If he is available, I say Philly in 6. If he's not available at all, I would say Hawks in 6, and it could be possibly 5. But yeah, once again, thank you for tuning in. If you're liking these videos, give me a thumbs up and leave in the comments anything that you want me to touch on that I haven't touched on. I'm trying to do each series as it comes along. At least once during the series, sometimes I'll do a review of a couple games later during the series to see if there's anything change or anything we might see as far as prediction or any big thing happening there. But at least trying to do a general I guess first take on the upcoming series and what I would like to see or think is going to happen, plus a prediction at the end here. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you are subscribed, I greatly appreciate it. And if you don't mind sharing the video to somebody who is unsubscribed or you think would be interested, that'd be greatly appreciated. And also, once again, you can find the audio only versions of our podcast and these type of videos, the NBA playoff videos as well, and Spotify, Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Breakers, Pocket Cast, Overcast, I think is another one as well. Just search us out under KISH YZ, KISH space YZ. And then also, if you want to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, you can hit us up there at KISH YZ, KISH underscore YZ. Once again, everybody, thank you for kicking in the second half. Peace and love.